Okay. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to Lord of the Rings Online plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we made some improvements to the Festival Buddy 2 plugin. We started a new feature to show how long the 5 beggars in Winterhome will be away from their location. And we can see that up on the screen right now. Today, we're going to work on improving this in a couple of different ways. So specifically, I want to finalize support for French and German versions because they have different NPC names and different things that they say. I want to only show timers for NPCs that I still care about. So if I've finished all of Ted or Barrett Noel, I don't want to see their timers show up anymore. Or maybe make that an option. And then, what was the last one? Have an option to control whether this thing shows up at all, because it is kind of distracting if you're not expecting it or don't want it. And you can close the window, but it'll just pop back up the next time a timer happens. So an overall option would be great as well. So, that being said, as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, yes, there's been a little bit of chatter already. Squirrel in chat says hello. Doesn't catch me live very often. And yeah, that is a problem when I'm streaming in my evening in Europe. 8 o'clock here, it's a little bit after 8 now, is 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the East Coast and even earlier as you move west. That's not necessarily a great time for most people. So it is what it is, unfortunately. Either I'm streaming after midnight, which is often not sustainable or desirable from my point of view, or I don't know, do it first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. here, and then it's midnight there? It is not really great, but at least we have recordings and whatnot. My neighbors are preparing for tomorrow's fireworks extravaganza by launching fireworks today as well. So if you hear popping in the background or other firework-like noises, that's what's going on. I don't know how much it's going to come through or how much more they're going to do tonight. They may be saving the bulk of it for tomorrow. If you don't know, in the Netherlands, New Year's Eve, or Old Year's Day as it's in the Dutch, is a very big opportunity for a lot of people to set off a lot of fireworks. And our neighbors are no exceptions. So tomorrow it will go for 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, all throughout our village and in the big city nearby, everywhere. The whole country seems to just set off a bunch of fireworks. One shudders at the billions of euros that might be spent on that kind of thing. Anyway, that's why there's fireworks. It's just a tradition. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and pull up my desktop windows. Okay, so I have a few notes here of things I've been thinking about. Oh, another one. It is possible for two or more people to activate the same NPC at basically the same time, and they will emote once per person who activates them as they're running away. So it is quite possible to get into the situation, and I can emulate it here, where maybe Regina Judson is activated by 4 different people, and we can see, 3 different people as it turns out, and we can see there's 3 different Regina Judson timers here. That doesn't make sense. Her timing is going to be based off of when she started running away, and any subsequent says on her part aren't going to, as far as I can tell, change when she gets back. Is that true, or is it going to be the last one? They don't return to where they don't like run back like some NPCs do. So I'm going to go ahead and make the decision by fiat, and there's a pretty short time window here anyway, that we're going to take the first one. So we want to track whose timers are in use, and if we see a duplicate for that, we'll stop and we won't do that as well. Squirrel in chat says, I do have a plugin question before you get too deep into your show. Is there a script I can add to a plugin to make it stay in place? I'm looking at minibar. Squirrel, I'm not sure I know exactly what you mean by stay in place, and actually I don't really know what minibar is, so let's go look at minibar. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the LOTRO Plugin Compendium here, if I've clicked the right thing. Maybe? Did I not click the right thing? Maybe I didn't. Plugin Compendium, let's try it again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a new thing, and this is mini I see mini raid. To lock it in position on screen. Okay, so you want it to not be draggable around. So in general, plugins kind of have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to things like dragging and dropping windows, except if you ask for a window that is that is a LOTRO style window, you get this nice blue button at the top, or I guess you can do a gold one, or in PVMP it'll look different as well, and that comes with dragability. So let's see if I can find this. Okay. So, minibar. Whoa, that was weird. So, let's take a look at this. I don't see it in the LOTRO Plugin Compendium, but that's okay. We can follow the instructions here on the page. So, instructions, not just instructions for use. Cool, okay, let's download this. All right, so it's done. What we want to do is in our downloads folder, we're going to go ahead and extract this. I think this is happening on my other screen. No worries. There we go. Extract. Awesome. And in the folder that I just extracted, I can see a folder called Symbo and underneath what looks like the plugin. So we're going to take that and we're going to go into Documents, into the Lord of the Rings Online, into Plugins, and we're going to move Symbo over. Okay, great. So we've installed it. The only thing that we might be missing are turbine files. Let's go ahead and see, minibar, and load. Awesome. Okay, so locking all bars doesn't seem to change whether it can move or not. Okay, hiding the title bar is interesting. So what do we have here? We have what looks like, thematically, it looks like an in-game window, but the font here, we can see the font is weirdly different. So this may be a window that is homegrown, but made to look like a game window. Okay. Yeah, the Squirrel thinks the locking is locking the icons, not the entire bar. Completely possible. Let's go in and take a look and see how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Visual Studio Code and open a folder. Going into Documents, the Lord of the Rings Online, and this is going into Plugins, and we're going to open up Symbo and Minibar. Great. So we can see main bar window. This is a class deriving from Window Basic. Fascinating. Window Basic itself is deriving from turbine.ui.window. Great. That gives us a lot more control because this is not a turbine.ui.lotro.window. So they should have to deal with moving the window around, I would think. Let's go ahead, though, and verify that. So what I want to do is, let's look for window functions. Key down, great. I'm literally looking for how does this thing move around. Okay, let's go to the minibar window. Key down? Nope. Key up? Not really. Mouse. Let's look for more mouse. We have settings button. Let's just search for the word move. Great. Titlebar.mouseMove, sender.dragging. Great. Okay. So we can see the self-set position. Just out of curiosity, what if we don't self-position? Let's go ahead and unload and reload minibar. And we can see that clicking and dragging no longer does anything. Now, that's not desirable all the time, but one could imagine... Oh, interesting. One could imagine just paying attention to the lock all bars and say, what if locking all bars also meant not letting it move? Okay. How do we see lock all bars? Lock all bars. I would like to find this everywhere. Okay, cool. So strings locked, great. Where is this used? Settings window, awesome. Creating a checkbox. Checked. Stop it. Okay, check change. Settings. Okay, so settings is locked. Great. So if we wanted to sort of override this functionality, then we could move. Okay. If not settings is locked, then do that end. So what does that look like? Coming in here, we have this checkbox. Cool. We go ahead and lock all the bars, and now we can't do anything. Now that's that's not a complete solution for me, because you can still it's still swallowing mouse clicks, right? If I click here, it's not treating it as if I'm clicking through it, and then maybe that's fine in general. Okay, add a new toolbar by clicking the settings icon to the left. I don't know what I'm doing. Sure, add bar, name 1, confirm. Yeah, okay. So if we lock all the bars, then as long as you're clicking anywhere else, that's fine, but you wouldn't be able to move it. You wouldn't be able to click through it on the title bar. That's probably fine. So that. If I wanted to make the smallest possible change to mini dash bar, the plugin, that's probably what I would do. Is I would say, okay, if the bars are locked, also don't let them move. And then in the self.titlebar.mouse move function here, then I would check that settings.isLocked is false. It is not locked, and only then would I actually do the dragging thing. And so that's it's not quite a one-line change, but it is kind of the minimum change I can think of without having to add another checkbox to the settings window or do something else, right? So Squirrel, I don't know if that's a helpful answer, but that's sort of the minimalistic change that I would make if I just wanted to stop it from moving once I had was finished configuring it. And that's my suspicion, is that once you're done configuring it, and I assume you can just drag things over here. Cool. And let's assume that this is actually a 1x3 bar, confirm, and lock. So at this point, I can easily activate all of my trash. Well, it might even be deed items. Yeah, task items. But I can't move this around anymore. Squirrel says, that makes more sense. I was just looking to use this instead of 5 or 6 other plugins. Yeah. If this were a full project where I was trying to submit a patch or something, I would I'd be tempted to go ahead and have a locking icon, maybe even, and each bar. I gotta ask, if I add another bar, is it just going underneath this one? Name 2, and we're gonna make this 7 wide. Interesting. How do you show both of them? Position below. Yeah, that's not like that. Okay, you can expand that. Do you not see more than one bar at a time? I don't know. Click on name 2 and swap bar. Swap? Ah, I see. Okay, right click. Haha. Excellent. And there's even an add bar. Okay, cool. So if I lock all the bars, you can still right click on it. You just can't left click on it. Okay. So that's, I was sort of picturing new bars showing up, but there's only one window. So what I was concerned about is that if this caused multiple windows to show up, you'd maybe only want to lock each one per instead of one global setting. But if you only ever see this, and it is a mini bar, then that would be my instinct, would be to say, okay, locking the contents and locking the position can go at the same time. And so that's what that would look like. So yeah, minibar window.lua line, it was probably 221 before I started mucking with it, surrounding that self-set position with a check for is settings, is not settings is locked. That is it unlocked? So if not settings is locked, then do the thing and then an end. And that gets you only having to change a couple of lines, and then you can't accidentally drag the things around on the screen once they are created and locked. I don't know if that's helpful. If you feel comfortable making those changes yourself, that's great. One thing to be cautious of, though, is changing your local plugins is great, but if you update your plugins, your changes can be overridden. So make a record of what you did, or maybe submit that request to the plugin author and say, hey, could you do this? If I were making a full change to the plugin, I would probably actually add a checkbox in this window here, near lock all bars to, naming things is hard, but don't let the window move, a checkbox for that as well. Instead of overriding lock all bars, I would say lock the contents of bars and lock the position of the bars as two separate things, if I were doing a more full-featured thing. But for just a really quick fix like this, that's what I would do. Well, Squirrel, I hope that gives you enough inspiration to go in that direction. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to Festival Buddy 2, but thanks for introducing me to another plugin that I wasn't familiar with, so that's awesome. Okay, and Skrigosi says, good evening before and Little Red. Little Red had to deal with some family stuff, so is not streaming today, so it is just me. Welcome, Skrigosi. All right, sounds like that may indeed have been helpful for Squirrel. Awesome. Okay. It's something I really enjoy, and I would recommend, if you are interested in writing plugins, get time to practice reading plugins, and that's a great example of a targeted lesson or a targeted exercise in my case. Okay, new plugin, haven't seen it before. I want to make a tiny change to it. What's the smallest amount of code I need to do that? Or I want to do this other thing that's just a tiny change. How do I change this to that? So open up a plugin you've never seen, read through how other people write their plugins, and get a sense of, okay, I know it's based on this checkbox. I'm looking, where's this checkbox callback function handler? And you just go from there. And it's very useful, if nothing else, because when you are looking at a plugin that you yourself wrote, or any code that you yourself wrote, and it's been more than like 6 months since you've looked at it, it's essentially the same thing. You're opening up a plugin that you are a stranger to, and you have to remember how it works. Well, that was noisy. I definitely recommend that as an exercise, as a low-stakes exercise especially. I'm not trying to get anything done with Minibar, except to see if I can do it. And I no stress if I can't, but it's a fun little challenge. And so, yeah, definitely, it's one of those things, it's a corollary to the advice to people who are interested in becoming writers, becoming authors, is the number one advice I see given to them is read a lot. You need exposure to how other people are writing. You need exposure to different ideas, to see what things you like and what things you don't like, to be well-rounded at all of these things. And I think the same is true for someone who's writing code. You're going to be better at it the more often you read other people's codes, and even your own code if it's been long enough to have forgotten everything. You'll have a better appreciation for what you can do, what you do like, what you don't like, than if you're only ever looking at your own code. Anyway, that's me off my soapbox. Let's go ahead and fix the problem where we can activate this multiple times. So I've added a space to my debug panel here that allows me to simulate as if I have just received a standard /say chat message. And I've left it open for more buttons, maybe to receive it as a fellowship or a world or whatever, a trade or something. But for now, I'm just focusing on /say. And what I want to do is I want to come in and, that's the wrong code window. We're going to go ahead and get one of these messages. So I want to come in here and copy that, come in and paste it. Now, when you get a message hot from the presses in LOTRO, these same messages have a built-in new line to them. And if your plugin's not expecting that, if it's just looking for an exact match, it's going to fail. So this simulator, you could either allow the person to add a new line themselves, in which case, cool, we have a match, or, well, that one didn't work, or just don't put the new line in to here and just have a little checkbox that will do it for you. And so I decided to do that instead of forcing every time I do this to remember to put a new line in there. Okay, this is what we want to avoid. The top timer is the correct one, so Barrett should respawn right about now. There we go. I have noticed that sometimes the NPCs, there's a little wiggle room in how precisely they return. And I think I'm trying to err on the side of the timer runs out and then maybe they take an extra second or 3 to spawn in. But in the meantime, you know that they're about to, so you can be clicking right click on their space in order to get that dialog window up. There's a lot of potential for simultaneous actions here where multiple people can move off or donate at the same time, but only if you've got that quest window open before someone else initiates the move them off or give them their job back a process. If you've got that open and you're close enough to the NPC, you can still continue with yours. But you know, you got to have that window open. And if someone else is about to move them off, you want to have that edge to get yours open so that then you can be like, okay, he's moving, great. It's too late for anyone else to engage, get it done. Cool. So how are we going to do this? No idea. Let's look at the code. So we don't need that yet. We don't need that yet. And the chat log, we don't need that yet. Okay, so for the, actually, I was already thinking, and hang on a sec. I'm going to go in multiple directions right now. Have we committed anything here? The answer is no, we haven't committed anything yet. So that's fine, I guess. I'm a little nervous about that because it is working and I don't want to break anything. So I'm going to pause and see if I can't at least commit these things. Maybe even make a branch just for the fun of it. Okay, we are on the main branch and we're going to go ahead and repository. I don't know, can we do a git flow? Here. We're going to stash everything in work. Great. Git flow, initialize git flow. Sure. Working tree contains changes. Well, I tried not to. Stash in work new. Can I stash new files? Apparently not. Why not? Well, I'm not going to worry about that. It is possible to deal with that. Really? Oh, I didn't delete the stash. All right. Yeah. It is possible to solve the problem that I was just experiencing, but I don't actually need a side branch for this. Okay, so we need a progress bar back. Let's take a look at some of the changes we made last time, and maybe in between we're going to want our context here. And we're going to come on in and take a look at this. Okay, this was the first thing I did was today was to support the ability to test chatting. Is I wanted to be able to call the function directly that was being called when the game says you have a chat message to process. but it was defined as an anonymous function within the initiate chat logger function. So we just assigned that anonymous function to chatlog.received. And we could call chatlog.received, or my other option was spin this off into its own function and apply that chatlog received, and then we can call it as well. I think either of those would work, but I felt a little uncertain about going to turbine.chat.received and trying to invoke that. Or I didn't think of it. Either way. So we're going to go this way. We also have if selected dual, and then we have this function. What I was just thinking is I would like this function to live within the cooldown strings window, maybe, not in here. But for, yeah, that's a small enough change. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and move that into here. And yeah, so we have handle, say chat, Winterhome, beggars. And I think that'll be fine. Let's go ahead and reload this, and we can just double check. Well, it seems to have worked. Awesome. Well, I don't need that inventory window. Cool. So let's go ahead and come on back to our source control. Was that it? Great, great, great. All of that is good. Globals, we have the NPC cooldown window. That's a fine enough default position for right now. In images, we have those two resources. Okay, great. We have the new cooldown window, and we draw it. Awesome. Options window. What's going on here? Why did I delete those two lines? It's probably fine. So we have draw, say, debug. That's unnecessary to be in this commit, so I'm going to hold off on that. NPC cooldown labels. We only have the English ones for right now, but I have ideas for that. And then the window title. That's great. Then we have the new file itself. Now, there are some debug outputs in here that I want to come take a look at. Turbine.shell. So checking message. I don't think I want that. I'm going to delete them here and then maybe undelete them after I do the commit. Turbine.shell.writeline. That was all of them. Great. So we're going to go ahead and add that as well. Initial commit of NPC Cooldown window. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and then come back into source control. Sorry, into my IDE and put those back so we can see that these messages are there, and that's fine. And then added ability to simulate receipt of a /say. And that is, sure, I'll do that, and this, and that. We're going to leave the show debug options. That's what is letting me see all these debug things, but we don't want to commit that that is visible. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close that down, and close that, and close this. Great. Okay, so that was just giving us a fresh working directory, so any changes that we make here, we're not in danger of accidentally breaking something. Lunar Water says, hello. Hello, Lunar Water. Welcome in to these stream that you don't get a chance to join very often. Lunar Water and I were chatting earlier about an idea for a plugin where sometimes you get an item in your inventory that if you interact with it, starts a quest. You'll see these in Trollshaws. I think Lunar Water was seeing these in Dunland. And if you're not an active reviewer of the things in your inventory, it might be a while before you realize you could have done a quest, and you might be far away from there by now. So there was some musing on, well, how big is this list of items, and could you just pop up windows that says, hey, use this, and maybe even present the item so someone could just interact with that instead of finding it in their inventory. So I think I'm going to focus on the Festival Buddy 2 because of the Yule stuff right now. We're so close to the end, I don't know if anyone's going to get a lot of use out of this new feature, but it'll be there regardless for the start of Yule next time. So we'll see. But I guess it depends on how much progress we make today, and if I have some time tomorrow or New Year's Day as well, even better. Okay, so we want to... I'd really kind of like to save the message that's in here, but that's a different problem. Okay. Coming in down here, we're going to grab one of these strings. Great. Paste it in here and say. So, did I ever make a limit on how many of these you could do? Apparently not. Fascinating. So, the goal is to make it so that can't happen, as fun as it is. Excellent. So the goal is, don't let that happen. So let's take a look and see how timers are currently made. In the handle say chat Winterhome beggars function, we can see that this is going to happen every time we get a slash say. So if I come in here and say, a cough, but I'm saying it, then we're going to see checking message. You say cough. Great. So everything comes in here, and then if it's one of the strings that we're looking at, and this is broken up by language, so we have our English, German, and French strings, and then just each thing that each person can say ends up being an entry in here. And I changed how this was structured between last week and this week a little bit. Koviat says, hello! Hello and welcome. We are looking at Festival Buddy 2 in Lord of the Rings Online. So this structure, instead of directly telling us how long it is just saying which NPC is it, and are we moving them off, or are we support the poor, I think is the other one. Yep, support the poor. And that gives you a lookup entry into the cooldowns table, because I was noticing that because I was copy-pasting this block into German and then French and then also into support the poor, we were just having a lot of duplication of these timing. And if I was going to change the time for one of these, moving off Barrett from 48 seconds to 45, for instance, that I only want to do that in one place and just have it be automatically picked up by these three, but not these three sections. So this is information that tells you how to find the information here. The NPC name is also going to tell us the thing that goes in the window here. Why is my inventory open? So this thing, Ted Eyes, midway between Onike and Daily Utterage, that is referenced by, in this case, Ted. There's a Ted entry in the strings language table. Cool. So we're using that. If we find that message in the current client language, then we'll assume that it was said. And because we're just looking for the whole thing and we're not doing any sort of substring or regular expression or anything like that, we're just saying, is the thing that we got this? This cannot be triggered by another player saying it's bad, just bad, the way you rich folks treat us. Someone else could say that, but because it doesn't say Ted Ives says, it doesn't start with Ted Ives said and end with that, it won't be triggered. And so this is only looking at NPCs saying the thing, not at anyone else saying the line. I say that, but we can go ahead and demonstrate it. So it's bad, just bad the way you treat us. So we'll have just that. Oh, I shouldn't put it there. But I'll put it into my, let's see. Okay, so checking the message, but it didn't trigger the action. Cool. So Bill hides far enough away we can't confuse that. with an actual in-game. So that, okay, there we go. So that's how we're getting the timer. If the thing exists, then we go ahead and call create NPC timer. Okay, let's come on in here. That's the NPC name and the cooldown in seconds. The NPC name, oh, that's not the name though, is it? Let's go ahead and move the get string somewhere else because I would like the name of the NPC. So we're going to have the name of the NPC, and that's going to be NPC name. Great. Was this used anywhere else? It was not. Okay. And so that's going to allow us to use that name as a way to remember something. So we have this cooldown parent, and we want to go ahead and store .timers active equals a table. Let's call it active timers. Okay, so when we create a timer, let's go ahead and do something. If active timers of NPC name, then return end. Don't create more than one timer per NPC. Okay, but then we'll need to go ahead and set it to be active. Active timers NPC name equals true. Just as something. And then we'll need to remember to get rid of it when we unload ourselves. And that's going to be in the update function. In remove timer, we'll go ahead and say active timers I need the NPC name. So remove timer, NPC name, control. Yes. So NPC name, timer control. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and say active timers of NPC names equals nil. So we're removing that entry. So let's take a look at that and see what we get. So the plugin loads. That's always promising, and we were able to cause multiples to. I am really not enjoying that value is not saved out. I'm going to pause and deal with that now. So I'm pretty sure I have solved this problem for quest testing. Quest testing. Let's take a look. So quest name, yep. And then text change, we go ahead and we set it settings debug quest. Great. That's exactly what I want to do, except down here, message. And we are in draw alert. Nope, we want to be in draw say. Great. So the message text box, we want to go ahead and do a text changed. And we're going to do settings.debug underscore chat message equals this. And then testing. We set the text to that. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's fine. So we're going to go ahead and use settings.debug chat message in the set text. Okay. Now, only I should see this or anyone else doing debug stuff. So let's take a look. Well, we can see that it's gets a blank value. So let's come into the cooldowns file and go ahead and say Barrett Noel says, I'm so happy. Say. And notice that I can't get Barrett Noel to re-trigger here. So that's sort of proof positive that this works, because before I could make a huge long list of timers. The real question is, can I get Barrett to trigger after this timer goes away? So we're going to wait this out. I should have chosen someone besides Barrett. He takes a while. Cool. And Barrett Noel can be re-triggered. I'm actually going to swap in Ted Ives. Same thing though, I can't regenerate that timer. Hey little one. Do you think they're done with the fireworks? Yeah, I don't know either. Okay. So, Ted Ives is currently active. I think someone else did it. Yep, it's bad, just bad the way you treat us. So I was able to re-trigger as soon as that went away. So this seems to be working as a way of tracking this information. We won't create a second timer, and when this timer goes away, it kind of unregisters its entry in that list of active timers. Now, you could be a little bit less redundant, of course, and instead of having a separate thing stored that we'll use and remove timer, you could go through each of the things in the list box and say, are you for Ted? Are you for Ted? Are you for Ted? Excuse me. Each row could have that saved off, and we could just query each one. But, you know, we're going to have up to 5 timers. That would be fine. That would be performant enough that we would not notice any problem with that. We can also have a table with up to 5 entries as well. Either one's fine. Either one's fine. So we're going to go ahead and come in and make a change here. So first of all, I'm going to stage that. Save the /save value between sessions. Great. So we have NPC Cooldown window. What are we doing here? We have initialized and active timers in our window constructor function. A remove timer is going to get that name that it's going to use as the index into that table. We're going to set up that entry in the table, or we're going to check for it first, and then if it's not there, we're going to set it in there. Oh yes, instead of passing the translated name of the NPC, we're just going to use that untranslated version and do the actual get string here. Lovely. Calling the remove timer, and then, we don't want those new lines. We're going to go ahead and say stage everything except not that and not this. Okay. That all is great. Don't allow duplicate timers. Okay, awesome. So, in my crib sheet here of things we're going to work on today, that was this one, duplicates. Don't start a new timer if there already is one. Done. Okay. Z window. This is an interesting one. So, one thing I was noticing is that the window is not reliably sitting on top of other elements, including but not limited to this layer button, which would occasionally come on top of it. It can be easily covered by my inventory. And I was curious if we could make that not the case, or if we even want to make that not the case. So, first of all, I wanted to see Z order is a thing that determines where something shows up. If you imagine, your desktop computer, your environment, LOTRO itself, if you imagine it as your actual physical desktop with pieces of paper on it, then the Z order kind of indicates where in the stack of things something is. And you're only going to see all of it if it's on top of the stack. Or if things that are above it in the stack are not overlapping it. So, for instance, right now, this window here is higher in the Z order because I have selected it in Windows. So it's actually in front of my LOTRO client. But the plugin manager is in my LOTRO client, and it's fully visible to me, anyways. Part of it's underneath my head on this stream. So the Z order of this is definitely higher in priority than the plugin manager. You can still see them both. So this is really about what is visible when two things overlap in space. I'm going to check because what Red Hat's doing a thing. Cool. Okay. So, but within the game, I would like to see if we can affect the Z order of a window or if that's just controls that are within a window. So that's the next thing. Let's come on up to the creation here. And this window, we're going to go ahead and say for the NPC Cooldown parent set a Z order. And we're going to say 1. I think everything in LOTRO is kind of at 0, and two things that are in the same Z order can be put on top of each other by interacting with them, which is what I was doing here. Chat window, layers, chat window, layers. They both have a Z order of 0, I think, so they can be raised and lowered above and below each other. Everything with a higher Z order than something else should always be on top of it, regardless of this kind of a clicking, though. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we need to go ahead and get this window to show up. And we can see it is on top of these other things, and I cannot raise them above it. So I don't feel comfortable making an always on top window mandatory. So what we want to do is let's go ahead and add the section of the options, which is track NPC cooldowns. And then if that is turned on, we can also have an always on top flag. And then changing that, we'll go ahead and change the Z order of this window, and then that will let us, I think that'll just work. So let's give that a shot. Okay, so what do we need? We need the options window. And we need to figure out where does it make sense to put this. It's not a quick guide thing specifically, although it does for now only work in Yule. Leonardo says you can always just call activate on the window you open. That's an interesting idea. Would that solve the problem? Probably. And we'll bring it in just that instance to the top. Reminds Lunar Water. Does that solve the problem? What did I write any notes about this thought, or was it just reveal double layer icon and quests? And I think I was talking about the list of quests here, for instance, and this is going to be rather messy. Yeah, I suspect I was thinking this. Where is my window? Okay, so the quest section here is able to be pulled on top of plugins, but then, okay, and you can re-pull it up. So it's also on Z order 0. I was wondering, what did I have to click on to get it to pull up? Yeah, anyway. Okay. So, Moonwater's suggestion is an intelligent one. Let's look at that first and see if we'd like that better. So we're going to come on into the NPCs, and instead of doing Z order, let's do the right thing. So we have a where do I set the visibility of this thing? Show visible. Okay. Yes. So where does this thing become visible? In add timer. So let's go ahead and activate and remind ourselves what that's supposed to do. Brings it to the front. Awesome. Let's take a look at that. So I've clicked on plugins, I've clicked on the quest, I've clicked on the layer thing. So those should be above this window, which has been created but not visible. Those should be above it in the same layer Z order. Let's take a look at that. Okay, it is on top. If I pull something else here, now I can't make duplicates. I've hoisted by my own petard. Okay, we can see that it does. I think, Little Water, that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and run with that. Then we don't need to worry about Z-order messing up other things. And we can just run with that. So, let's kill the Z-order and come take a look. So, make sure the cool down window is on top when it is made visible. Now my concern is that this will do it every time a timer is added, even if the window is already visible. And my concern is that would be annoying. Like if I put something else on top of it and it pulls itself back up, is that a good feature or is it not a good feature? Let's go ahead and commit that though. And let's see if I can't demonstrate what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up the next string on my clipboard. And this is whom? Ted Ives. Okay. Let's go ahead and Bill Hyde. Okay. So Ted Ives. That window's on top. I put the plugin window over it. And it comes back. Is that good? Or if I put something else on top of that window, like if I pull this in front of it, should that window only come back to the front if it disappears and then comes back? Because that's easy enough to do. You can just check to see if the window's already visible. Well, I think it's going to be less of a problem as we're doing the next thing, which is only show you the NPCs that you still care about with the quick guide. Assuming you're using the quick guide. So let's take a look at that. Okay. In our goals here, hide the window when the HUD is hidden. Right. If someone presses their hide the HUD key, this window does not respect that. And there's a lot of good pictures to be taking in Yule, so we want to pay attention to that. Lindenwater says, perhaps keep a time value of last lost focus, and only let it activate if that's in more than a certain amount of time. I'm going to circle back around on that idea. That's an interesting idea. If the window seems to pop to the top too often, suggests only calling activate if it's been long enough since the last time. Cool. Great idea. Okay. So, we minimize the thing where the stuff was. Hide the window when the HUD is hidden. This is a really common thing. Need to do it for all our windows, and I just forgot to do it for this one. So let's just get inspired by how else Festival Buddy does this. We're going to come into the main win, and we're going to search for HUD. Great. We can see there's a key down action here, and that will complicate what we just did a little bit, but that's okay. All right, we have a key down for F12. We have a key down for the escape button. All of that sounds good. Let's borrow that. Actually, that might be... Hang on a sec. This is already handling it for everything. Okay. got lost in contemplation of these function names that I've been adding are not very well scoped to the NPC cooldown window. And so by all rights, that should be add NPC cooldown timer instead of just add timer. Obviously, it's not a problem so far. Roy in chat says, hello, are you doing programming for Lord of the Rings? What is this? So, first of all, Lord of the Rings Online is a popular MMO set in the world of Middle-earth. It has the ability to have plugins. These are also called add-ins or other names in other games, but here in LOTRO they're called plugins. These plugins are written in Lua, which is a scripting language, which is, can be hard to read depending on your familiarity with it, but is a pretty straightforward language to learn how to read and write. So this is the Festival Buddy 2 plugin, which helps with festivals. So there's code that users can write that can be run within the context of Lord of the Rings Online, but I am not writing any code for the game itself. I'm just looking at plugins. I don't work for Standing Stone Games, the creator of Lord of the Rings Online, or the current publisher of it. I am just a fan of both the game and writing plugins for the game. So hopefully that answers your question if I understood it correctly. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to have functions that allow this window to stay hidden while the HUD is hidden to know that it can't show itself. But when the HUD is unhidden, if there is a timer active, we need to go ahead and show ourselves. And main window we can see is doing a lot here, but what I want to do is have a function here, and it's probably going to be here, function. And that's what I was thinking is, I'm not scoping these in a namespace very well. So, NPC Cooldown, window, change NPC Cooldown window HUD. And what do we have? Is HUD something visible? Okay, so with this we're going to, first of all, we want to change this or call this. So if we're in show screen, then we're going to go ahead and say change this to true, and if otherwise we're going to set it to false. Okay, that's the first thing. In here, we need to save this value off. Is HUD visible equals is HUD visible, and then we need to do something with it. So if not is HUD visible, no. If is HUD visible, then else end. So what are we doing if the HUD is visible? What are we doing if it's not? If it's not, that's actually super easy. Let's go ahead and say set visible to false. Great. Then we need to, if the HUD is visible, then the question is a timer visible? And we actually already have a shortcut for this because we have the active timers. Actually, we have the list box. We know how many things are in the list box. That'll be better. So if this count item, list box count, get item count is greater than 0, then and only then do we want to set this to set visible true. Okay, so that's great. And then the other problem is we're doing this call to set visible and activate, and that's not great. So instead, what we want to do if this dot is HUD visible, then, and does calling activate also call set visible? Did we know that? I'm a little curious. Let's find out. Okay. So we're going to come in here to our options and say, and we can see the window's not there. Bring set visible back into play, and it's also not there. How do we break it? Oh, is HUD visible should default to true. Okay. Great. Okay, so we have the ability to show that window again. Awesome. So, did we need to set visible equals true for that? We did need it. Okay, great. That's what the Lunar's IntelliSense was just telling us from Activate, which was bringing a window to the front. Doesn't necessarily make it visible. But it's always good to double check our assumptions on these things. Okay, so set visible false, true, false, true. Okay, great. So let's take a look at that in action. So we can see that window is hiding and showing. Awesome. What if it's in the front? Hiding and showing. Excuse me. Can't help but notice that when I hid and brought back, that window's in the back. Is that a problem? Sure, it's a problem. So, this set visible. Activate. All right, any other uses here? Just those two. So, in that case, we go ahead and have this hide the HUD, bring the HUD back. We can see it's going to be on top. Now that is assuming that that is desirable. Now, Lunar Water was making a point that we might be able to track whether or not the focus is in us or something else. And I don't know if that is true for Z-order arrangements. Like, is the focus still in the cooldown window when I click over here? I don't know. But I know how to find out, I think. Let's take a look at that. So if we have NPC parent, focus lost equals function. It's going to take a sender and args because all the callback functions do. And we're just going to go ahead and write out focus lost, exclamation point. Cool. So let's bring this up. Okay. We can see we did not get a focus lost there. What if I click here? Yeah, the window seems to have focus. So that is, or it's not, it hasn't gained the focus, I guess. And other than that, like if we give it focus, sure. Let's see if giving it focus helps. Okay, great. Focus lost. Okay. So if I click here and I click there, it didn't do it. But if it only matters for the half of it that I don't care about. Okay. So if you click on the window and then click off, focus is lost. But if you click on another element to raise it up, focus is not lost. That's frustrating. Oh well. So with that, we'll just deal with that. Okay, so no focus. Okay. So that window hides itself when the HUD is hidden. Awesome. What else was main window doing? It was, oh, the escape key, right. There's an option here where escape key closes festival buddy windows or doesn't, and we want to be respectful of that option. So escape key currently doesn't close those windows, now it does. So we want to go ahead and if escape key closes windows, then sure, we can just do that. Let's try that. So we've loaded this in. Options escape key does not close the festival windows. And we can see this stayed open. Great. Escape key does close it. We can see it went away. But we're not saving any sort of information about this. So what we just saw was escape made it. What? Escape key closes. Oh, it had to be seen by something. But if you hide the HUD and then bring it back, do we care about that? That would be tracking another state. You know, have we been closed, and if so, have we actually opened ourselves back up again? My problem is there's actually no way to make this window show back up if you accidentally escape it away. So this could be a way to do that. I'm going to leave that for right now. To do, is it a problem that the closed window will come back if you hide and show the HUD question mark? That's a problem for later. In the meantime, let's see what changes we've made. Hide the cooldown window as appropriate for HUD and escape. Cool. So that is that. None of that. And then what did we do in here? Yes, yes. Most of that. So we're going to stage that. We're going to stage this and not that. Cool. Okay. What else do we have? So hide the window when the HUD is hidden. Done. Only show messages for characters that still have an undone quick guide entry. This is probably my most desired thing, but the one I knew least how I was going to do. So for the rest of this stream, that's going to be my focus, unless it's done in 5 minutes, in which case I'm going to adapt. But I assume it's going to take me at least 15-20 minutes just to sort it out, and then we'll be rapidly approaching a good time to bring the stream to an end, maybe. It is the day before Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and so I'm not looking to do an extra long stream today, and I still have a bunch of characters to run through Yule because I had other stuff to do today. Okay, so only show messages for characters that still have an undone quick guide entry. Add options to control the use of this window. I think these two kind of go together because if there is an option, I feel like whether or not we do this thing that we're talking about here is going to be a part of that. But one thing at a time. So if you're using your quick guide, and you don't have to, but if you are, it is controlled by the options quest to include in quick guide here. So we can see Yule, and the two that matter for your daily running through here are going to be a charitable spirit and moving them off. Now, it's been a while since I wrote the quick guide, so what I don't know is how easy is it to know whether you have completed objectives of these quests. And I guess if you're doing that quest at all. So, let's relearn how the quick guide works. So first of all, there is the quick guide window, or quick guide win in the parlance of Festival Buddy Jew. So we create the quick guide window, and we have a tree view. Okay, that tree view is probably going to be important. Okay, so there is a filter function. And we can know if something is complete. Okay. Roy in chat says, by the way, I wanted to start playing LOTRO. What should I learn before I begin? So, if you have any experience with other MMOs, World of Warcraft is a classic example, but there are others, then the gameplay of Lord of the Rings Online is probably going to be pretty familiar. We're going to create a character. In Lord of the Rings Online, there are various class and race combinations that let you be many of the possibilities. In Lord of the Rings Online, currently, there are the following classes. Bjorning, which is kind of both your race and your class. Brawler, Burglar, Hunter, Champion, Mariner, Guardian, Loremaster, Minstrel, Captain, oh, that's fun, Runekeeper, and Warden. So some of those are going to be your more damagey classes. Some of them are going to be your more tanky classes. Some of them are going to be able to heal. Some won't really be able to heal. And so if you have some ideas of gameplay elements that you enjoy, I really like doing damage, I really like being in melee or ranged, or I like doing magic-y kind of things, then I'd let that guide you in the creation of a character. If you hate melee, I would not make a Guardian. They are great at melee, both doing damage or in their tanking. In LOTRO, you are going to have a class traits, and you're going to spec into one of 2 or 3 different focuses for your class. If you're doing free-to-play, I don't remember if you get 2 of these to start, but the respecking of saying start over from scratch is pretty cheap. If I click it right here, I hadn't done anything. Hang on. Poke things. Okay, so if I apply that, cool. If I re-specialize, is it free? Or am I just missing something? All right. Well, it doesn't cost very much. I guess maybe it doesn't cost anything at the moment. That's weird. I'm used to it costing a little in-game money. Cool. So these 3 traits tend to be, if you are a class that can vary between healing or damage or tanking, you're going to find your more tanky or healing aspect in blue, your more damagey aspect in red, and your maybe does other interesting or weird things in yellow. Or some of the classes only really have 2 of them, and they have their fun little alternate things in yellow, but you can't just specialize in it. It looks like hunters can do up to 3. There's a little description here in your trait tree panel. So as you're going through the introduction, through the tutorials part of it, when you start the game, you'll get to choose between the classic tutorial, the new before the shadow tutorial, or just skip the tutorial entirely. I recommend doing it. And so during that, you will level up and you'll get your first trait point, and the game will try to tell you a little bit about your traits then. So if you already have experience with MMOs, you may already have a thought of, oh, I want to do DPS, I want to focus on crowd control, or I want to focus on damage, or whatnot. I, for instance, really love magic-y kind of ranged characters. And so but I also enjoy being able to heal for group play where that's very, very helpful. Maybe we're doing a dungeon, maybe we're just doing landscape difficulty where it's harder than default for whatever reason. So I like the flexibility of being able to do DPS or healing. Minstrel felt like a natural Lord of the Rings Online class to do that. Character I'm on right now is a hunter, but my main is a minstrel. So that's that. You're going to specialize, and that's going to give you better abilities within the skills that you have, and some new skills as well. For instance, Bowmaster is going to come with... Huntsman is going to have the barrage, and Bowmaster would not. Trapper of Foes would come with Pinning Shot and Deadly Decoy. Awesome. In this traits tree panel as well, you're going to have some racial things that are unlocked as you adventure through the game that are racial specific instead of class specific. These aren't game breaking, but if you're of a min-maxing kind of mentality, then you'll want to be thinking about that. For instance, elves probably get a bonus to bows, and hobbits maybe don't. So I like playing a hobbit, so I did that anyway. But if you really want to, eke out every last bit of boost, then maybe think about how your racial bonuses might interact with your class play. And then the final thing in this window is virtues. Virtues are, you can earn virtue experience by usually completing deeds, but there are some quests also that will give it to you. Your virtues, you'll choose 5 of them to get the major effect of them. For instance, my wit, that's not a good example, it's terrible. My loyalty is level 36 out of a possible 75, and if it is active, I will get an increase in my vitality, my armor, and my incoming healing. I don't remember why I slotted that. Maybe I just had it available. All of the virtues will give you a minor benefit based on their levels. So, for instance, charity is not slotted as one of my 5, but I will get some morale just because it is level 2. I would get more if it were higher. Loyalty, regardless of whether it's slotted or not, I would get plus 49 maximum morale. Hooray. So, that's those windows. And beyond that, you're going to have a character screen that shows you what equipment you're using. That's going to feel very familiar. In Lord of the Rings Online, you have cosmetic outfits that show what you will look like, and these are on top of your... these are separate from your equipment. And so, early in World of Warcraft, I remember your equipment was your cosmetics, and so you might just look very silly. I don't remember... I don't know if they've brought in a cosmetic system. I assume they have. But your cosmetic outfits are going to determine what people see, regardless of how cool or not cool your actual equipment is. And so you can see my hunter here looks a little bit more dashing in their cosmetic outfits than they do in their regular armor. But the regular armor is not too bad. It's a set from whatever level it was. Level 95. Time for an upgrade, really. Okay. Cool. Yeah, well, if you have any questions. But I think if you have prior experience with an MMO, then a lot of the concepts and conceits of the game is going to feel very familiar. There's swift travel between different areas. You're on horses, not on griffins, but, if you're playing free-to-play, you may have only slow travel between some places. And you can access a lot of Middle-earth, even in a free-to-play account. But monthly subscriptions or annual subscriptions to Lord of the Rings Online feel pretty reasonably priced. I think if you do an annual subscription, it comes out to about $8 a month, which isn't freely available for everyone, but for me, it's cheaper than going to a movie, and it lasts the whole month. So it works out pretty well. Okay, well, if you have any other questions, feel free to pop them into chat there. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can figure out how this works. Okay, so let's come on back into the code, and I'm going to pause for a little drink here. Awesome. So, how does this work? We know we have... We know we have a tree. Let's find how this tree is being used. When we create a node, okay, we're using that to get the size of this thing. Great. Let's go ahead and pull up the quick guide in case you're not familiar with what it looks like. This is the Yule quick guide. It tracks the various things you've done. And I made it because Yule and Midsummer, which I think was the original inspiration, has so many quests where you have little bits and pieces scattered about, and it's very easy to pause to go take care of another more timely thing. For instance, the Moving Them Off Charitable Spirit dual quests that deal with the 5 beggars in Winterhome. If they're available, you want to go and get them, and then you want something to remember that you got them, so you're not like, oh man, I still need to do Bill Hyde. Which one is Bill Hyde? Well, the last one by the final food challenge table, but it's nice for the plugin to remember that. And so this is sort of an optimized, if everything works, you can just run through all of your 10 or 11 daily quests in here. Okay, so I want to know when something is checked off. So there is a checkbox, and if the check is changed, quick handle checked entry. Cool. Tell me more. So there is a thing you can do in the quick guide where you can check things off manually, and you can check off everything up to a certain point. If you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to reset it and I'm already down to making mischief, I can go ahead and do that. However, I don't actually want them to go away. There's also a reset button at the bottom. Okay, so that's handling this. If the checkbox is shifted, what is filter quest happening? Where is that? I don't know if that's ever being used. Hang on. Where are these called? Oh. Is it in chat logger? It's called filter because all these are called filter. Okay. Good to know. Okay, so we're doing a begin and we're doing an end, but why? Well, the function comes here. Is filter quest happening? Okay, yeah. We do that. Man, this is why you write comments. My goodness. So, prevent someone holding down shift while completing a quest objective from causing a long list of quick guide entries from being marked complete. Yeah. I misunderstood what this was happening. So first of all, we go ahead and say we're processing a quest advancement piece of thing. So that's the filter quest is happening. I don't like the name of that now that I'm looking at it. You know what? Let's do that. So, is filter quest happening? Is quest chat processing happening? Let's try that. So, quick guide. quest chat processing begin. And quick guide quest chat processing end. Great. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and commit that because I like those names better. So renamed variable and functions. So that is these two. Not that, not that. That is this. That is both of those. And that is that. Great. So that gives us a little bit more explanation of what's going on. What else do we have? I don't like that comment. Okay. If holding down shift and clicking an objective, I don't like that. Well, and clicking an objective will mark all previous objectives complete. However, if someone we only want to do this in response to a chat message, wait, we don't want to do this. Want this to happen from a request chat message only from the user clicking. Only from the user checking off an objective. So this this if prevents someone holding down shift will complete a quest objective from crossing along. Okay, that's fine. What else do we have? Updated comment. Okay, and this is where we remove the thing after so long. What is quick guide? Okay, tell me more about that. Quick guide progress index equals true. Okay, this helps us with saving. I'm going to say take a Spirit of Yule is complete. I'm going to unload, I'm going to reload, and I want to see what that looks like in my plugin file. So we're going to come on into plugin data, and we are in Peregrine, Arda, festival setting. Yep, there we go. So, quick guide to use, great, don't care about that. Quick guide use timer. Okay, quick guide progress. 1 is true. Okay, how does that work in okay, so do we know what index things are? What does the add next quick guide value do? Okay. Yule index of, in this period of Yule pickup equals that, and then return +1. Do we have a dump function? We do. Great. I want to see what this looks like. All right, let's see that. So what we can see is the name of it gives us the index. That's fine. That means we can look up the index that we need. Okay, so Yule index, what we need is, if we're adding a timer, okay, don't create a timer for an NPC if both of there are no more objectives remaining. So we need a lookup for these objective names. NPC objectives equals. Yeah, we can. I think so. But instead of a number, what we want is the quick, is the name of that. So moving them off. Okay. Moving them off Ted Ives. Moving them off Jenna Judson. Moving them off Jack Judson. And moving them off Bill Hyde. Cool. We do want that to be quotes though. Cool. So we can look up those, and then we want the charitable spirit. Charitable spirit. So that's going to be, start in the middle because the location is different. Okay. Great. And then a charitable spirit, Barrett Noel. And Ted Ives. Okay, so we can, based off of the current name of the NPC, know if we can look up their two Yule indexes. From the Yule indexes, we can look at the completion. So this, oh, there's even a function. Great. So let's go ahead and open a duplicate of that. Split right. Cool. That was going to be, here. So move local move index equals, and that's going to be, right now this is hard coded to Yule. Right. think I'm okay with that. Local move. Objective equals NPC objectives, and that's going to be the NPC name and move, and the local support objective I called it support, but that can't be wrong. Charitable. Charitable objective equals that. So now we know the name of it, but we can also then local. Yeah, this is very hard coded to Yule. I'll fix that problem later. Local move index equals local move is complete equals is completed move index. Cool. Where is this used? Well, okay, so knowing this, yeah. Okay. So we get the move objective, we get the charitable objective, quick guide, you'll charitable objective, and then the local charitable is complete equals quick guide when it's complete. That's the charitable index. Okay, so if move is complete and charitable is complete, then just return. Cool, so don't create a timer for an NPC if there are no more objectives remaining. Gotta remember to close my parentheses. Okay. So let's see if that works. We can test this using our debug ability. So if I go ahead and say this, we can see awesome, Bill Hyde, but should really have chosen one with a faster running away. If we go ahead and get rid of moving them off, actually, hang on, quick guide. Remove completed items from list. No, don't do that. Okay, so Bill Hyde. Let's go ahead and do that, and then come back in. Okay, so Bill Hyde came back. What about charitable spirit? Alright, there's the bill hide there. So we're going to go ahead and wait. I should really do Ted Ives. I should position myself so I can't see Ted Ives actually talking. Okay, Ted Ives. What's the shortest one we've got, really? Yeah, Ted, I can't believe it. Okay. So Ted Ives. Great. Ted Ives. I could actually just make that a very short refresh there. Let's do that while I'm thinking about it. Cool. So we now have a 5-second one, much better. Okay, so moving them off, we want to go ahead and reset the guide. This was Ted Ives. So we're going to go ahead and check that, say it. We can see Ted Ives comes back. Charitable Spirit. Ted Ives. It didn't work, or it didn't come up because both of those objectives are complete, so we don't care with this character. And in general, logging off and logging back on is probably going to take long enough where it doesn't matter. But Ted Ives, I've unchecked it. Let's figure out what went wrong. Now, if I unload and reload, I bet it does work. I bet it doesn't. Okay. Then I don't know. Let's dig into it. But in general, it's looking really good. So, this was saying return settings quick guide progress. Okay. Set completed, clear completed. Oh, there is no unsetting it. Where does the set completed happen? Okay. Right, so we never unset it, so unchecking it there under the covers wasn't doing anything. So let's go ahead and set it to nil, because we don't want it to persist out, and it'll still be untruthy. Wait, can't get rid of that. Is checked. Else, and if there was one function that took a parameter, this would be a one-liner, but it's not how it's currently set up. Quick guide when unset completed index. Okay, let's take a look at that. So we're going to go ahead and reset, unload, and load. Great. So let's see. Ted Ives we can trigger. Let's go ahead and mark that off. I know this would be much easier if I stopped having everything else. Great. So Ted Ives is there. We can see it. Coming on down, Ted Ives, a charitable spirit. We finished that one. Yay! Nothing. But if we uncheck one of those, awesome. And if we uncheck the other one, we get it back. But if we recheck, Ted Ives is done again. Then Ted Ives triggering doesn't trigger the window to pop up. Awesome. Very cool. What else? I feel like I was going to look at something else. Oh, well, I was going to dump out information here, but it turns out not to be necessary, so I'm not going to do that. This is a lot. I kind of want to extract that to its own function, but I'm going to leave it where it is right now. Okay, so if I unload that and reload it, those are marked as true. Yeah. But why are they removed if we said remove completed items from the list? Well, that's a different problem. Even with remove completed items from list unchecked, when unloading and reloading Festival Buddy to completed items are not added to the list, instead of being added in checked form. Okay. Add options to control these will only show messages for characters that still have an undone quick guide entry. Awesome. Now, oh, I remember what I was going to do. Let's get this committed though first. Okay, so that is unnecessary. Okay, that one we can save for right now. This. Clear saved value for quick guide entry when it is unchecked. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Great. So my question was, if we're not doing a thing, are we still seeing, I didn't say the right words. If we have deselected a charitable spirit and or making mischief, in fact, let's go ahead and get the rest of these back in. So no charitable spirit, no moving them off. Are we still going to see this window pop up? The answer is yes. And so what I want to say is either the value is completed or we're not even using that quest chain. Well, can we do that? And can we do it in the limited amount of time I have left for this stream? Unknown. Let's find out. Okay, so in Yule, we have moving them off. So, chains is here. So how do we know if we are... Quick guide, when? Let's look for chain. Is change used is this. Okay. Great. NPC chains equals this. And that is move equals save that for a second. The move chain, where did it go? Move them off. And charitable equals charitable spirit. That makes sense. Great. So we need to know if that's being used. Local is move used equals cook guide quest to use, and that's going to be Yule. And split that right because I need to go get that. That's going to be NPC chains. Move. Okay, so that's is it used, and then is charitable used, and that's going to be charitable. And then if is move used, if we're going to call it chain actually. Move chain used. What we're caring about is a composite. We only care about move is complete if it's being used. So if not, it is move change used, or it's complete, and not that, or it's already complete. So if neither of them, that's fine. If we're not doing the move chain, but we are doing charitable chain, but that's complete, okay, that's fine. I think this logic is correct. I kind of wung it here. Okay, so currently we are not using move them off for a charitable spirit. Hey, that was fine. Okay, we are using a charitable spirit. Okay, but what if a charitable spirit, oh man, the rest of these are so in the way. Okay, so we are using a charitable spirit. Let's just retest that. That is for Ted Ives. So we're only doing a charitable spirit and Ted Ives is done. Okay. Let's go ahead and uncheck that. And then not that, but moving them off. Okay. But what if Ted Ives is done? Okay. And then what if we leave that checked? That's fine. What if Ted Ives is now checked? Okay, so what we're saying is that if you do not need Ted Ives for anything, either because you're not using that quest chain in the quick guide, or you've already completed any version that you are using, move them off, or charitable spirit, then that timer is not going to show up. So what's going to happen is this window is going to get shorter and shorter as only the timers that you care about for this character show up in there. Now, the one downside I see of this is if you are running around in Frostbluff with someone else in your fellowship kinship member or something, and you are communicating vocally with them, and you're like, oh man, Barrett's going to be back in 10 seconds. You should get over there. And if you've already done Barrett, then you're not going to have that information. So what I want to do is I want to have 2 checkboxes in the options. And I think I've already covered this in here. Add options control the use of the window. Add option to on by default. to exclude NPCs that you're done with. So I want the user to be able to say, no, show me all of them, even if I'm done with them, because when my kinmate says, oh, do you know anything about Regina? I can be like, oh, she'll be back in 8 seconds. Because I happened to be over there when I saw her getting moved off or getting her job back. So that's that. I had a thought about sorting by the next one to expire instead of just the most recent one comes at the bottom. I think that's more effort than I want to put into for a release this season, but it's something I'll think about. The window pops up. Okay. So far it hasn't, but I'll be testing it later tonight. Oh, and this is just a bug that I'll come back to. So I think we have completed all the objectives that I came up with at the start of the stream. So good on us. So if you are doing a charitable spirit or moving them off, and you need any of these, and I'm going to go stand in the center here, so I might actually get a natural triggering of this. Okay, so this window will pop up. Right now, there's no option to control, but that will come over the next couple of days, and I'll get this released out as soon as I can. Everything else allowing. All right, well, no one seems to be moving anyone else, so I'll go trigger this window. There we go. Okay. Obviously, I need to put the actual time back. Okay. Cool. Well, I think then Gio has put an image in chat. I think it's meant to be a festive image. Cool. Well, thank you for the festivities. I think that's going to be everything that we're going to cover today. Thank you so much, then, for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins, especially the Festival Buddy 2 plugin at Yule. I do hope to see you all here next time. My default is to say next week, and that would be the 6th of January. Sure, I hope to see you all here next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.